By the end of this episode, you will understand the first thing you must do before starting and growing your medical practice and why. Welcome back to another episode where I help younger physicians decrease stress and increase income by transitioning from corporate to independent practices, even without any business experience. In this episode, you'll discover the practical definition of a personal cash flow management system, why tracking where your money goes is crucial to financial health, and why using a debit card can help manage expenses more effectively. And as a bonus, a really important superpower that I wish I had. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Independent Physician's Blueprint, where we help physicians decrease stress and generate wealth in this crazy world that we're living in. And today's guest is Sonia Palomino, a good friend, a consultant, a wise counsel. She was actually my first guest on the podcast, Season 1. She is also my financial coach, or was my financial coach. Are you always my financial coach? I would say, as a financial coach?
I think so, with what I heard from in the hallway.
Yeah. So, this is really a long time coming, because I didn't realize how long ago it was that you've been on the podcast. And we've mentioned you in the house. We've mentioned the budget. We've mentioned the things that you've helped us with. Not only myself, but my wife had you as her financial coach. And, I want to really bring forward things I think that were instrumental in getting me to where I am today.
Right.
And that is really managing my personal finances and understanding things a lot better than I did prior to meeting you and getting the spreadsheets together. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here, Jude. It's been a while.
It's been a long while.
Yes.
And I was almost afraid when I texted you or emailed you. I said, would you want to come on the podcast? I wasn't sure if you were still financial coaching. And so
it's almost been 18 years.
So 18 years doing what you helped us with.
Yes.
How's that going?
It's like I get to live my dream, honestly. It's not even like work to me. And I am so inspired by my clients, their stories, and there's just nothing else I'd rather do. It doesn't get old.
So if you haven't heard Season 1, Episode 2, go ahead and listen to it, because she gives us a roadmap to what we need to do. But today I'm going to really focus on two things, and that's budgeting and debt. And when we were talking before rolling, you mentioned cash flow planning, which is not a term that I heard you use before when you were working with us. So can we go over what does it mean to budget? Because sometimes people see that or hear that and say, that's a bad word. So tell us about what you think budgeting is for a successful physician.
You got it. And I've been on the journey myself as well, because you're 100% correct. It was all about the budget. And I had always struggled with the word budget, and I just didn't have a better word for it. And so it's just been recently on my journey that I was like, actually, we're talking about cash flow, because I feel like the problem with the typical budget that is out there is that it's something that someone scribbles on a piece of paper, it gathers dust, or it's in an Excel spreadsheet and they don't look at it again. It's nothing that actually transforms their lives. Mm-hmm. And then in a couple months, they try to do it all over again. And so it's exhausting, it's overwhelming, and it's actually a waste of time, the way a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah. So I still have your somewhat, maybe a revised version of your budget sheet that I used 2015. And I have everything that we've spent and everything that we've made on that budget sheet. And what I've realized, or what I've seen recently, is that it's been cumbersome to put in all the transactions.
Yes.
So we're not doing it as much.
Right.
But when you think about it, we go back and say, okay, let's start with this week and start the pay period, and then just kind of subtract everything. Is it because we've developed a habit and we don't need to necessarily do the budgets every time? Or what do people who are in our boats that are very busy, what are they doing to manage that cash flow?
Well, and I think really the biggest question is, how successful do you feel with it? Do you feel as if you are gaining traction and you're going into that direction aggressively towards your next steps? And if you're getting to those goals, that's the ultimate goal right there.
Yeah, I feel like we're stuck a little bit because we're probably overspending and because we're not seeing where the monies are going.
Right.
So, every day we have an Amazon box that gets delivered.
I saw the truck out there.
Oh, were they? Shoot.
Yes.
I think I have something coming in.
Yes.
But it's boots. I need boots.
Gotcha. And so that's really the journey, because it's really to take this, because for what the piece that I feel, it's that front windshield piece. And that's on the prior episode that we had talked about as well. Yeah. And because if you're just looking at we'll call it the AKA budget, and you're just looking to see what happened, and it's really important to lay out, where are you now? Where did the money actually go, category by category? And so that piece of it is an important piece to know, because what happens is I guess one of the biggest feedback that I hear from my clients, especially the physicians, actually one physician thought somebody was stealing from him. And I said, okay, so we've got to get to the bottom. He's like, I do not know where my money is going. And so I'm like, we're going to find out who this is. It was him.
Where was money going?
He just didn't know where his money was going. Okay. So thankfully we didn't need to call the cops or anything. Like, we can fix this. And so the knowing where your money is going, spending that money on paper on purpose is critically important. Though it's just like brushing our teeth. No one else is going to come in and brush our teeth for us, though we probably want to brush our teeth. It's just like washing the dishes. Our money is as busy as we are. So there's going to be a lot of transactions.
So the transactions are in the budget sheet.
Correct.
How do you manage lots of transactions, or do you counsel people? Because everyone uses their debit card now.
Correct.
So how do you recommend that?
And I would say really the focus is on those areas that are the big black holes. So let's just talk about that. So for an example, the food budget, eating out budget, those are the crazy things. Mm-hmm. And so short of going to a cash-based system, because honestly, if you just take out the cash, then you just don't even have any transactions hitting other than the withdrawal. It's one transaction. Yeah. And I also do know, for an example, I use like an online grocery, I can tally up and see exactly how much I'm spending online. I don't have to go inside and buy. And so that I'm not going to make change. You can't pay it that way. You've got to use my debit card. And so a strategy actually from a physician that shared with me, whatever that grocery budget is, the eating out budget, it gets transferred into a different checking account that has a debit card just for that account. So that eliminates a lot of transactions.
So you know that you're going to spend X amount of dollars a month, because that's what you've been spending for the past 3 months.
Right.
You shove that into a debit account.
Right.
And you use that could you use a credit card for that?
I would recommend a debit card, because I want you to feel the pain of it, because with the credit card, this is my experience with a credit card. I wondered, where is this balance coming from? I wanted it to be $1,500 for our food, gas, everything miscellaneous. This is back in the day. When I would get that credit card statement, would it be $1,500?
No, it's going to be $1,600.
$2,500. I'm like, who are we? Mm-hmm. And it was out of pure frustration that we just took a different approach, and just to really get our arms around it, because in their marketing is brilliant. I'm getting points for it, right? Our mind's going to think that as well. And so I'm a fan of the debit card, because guess what? Your attention is going to be on it. And it's really about making conscious decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're not going to have a overdraft, or maybe unless you put an overdraft on top of that.
Right.
Pull it out of savings. But it makes sense. Because then you don't have to worry about those line item transactions in the budget.
No, not at all. And actually, you're doing something very similar to the more old-fashioned cash-based system. The whole purpose is putting 4 walls around a category that gets out of control. Yeah. So if you're transferring that money over, it's out of sight, out of mind. You manage that separately, and they're not even going to hit that main checking account in that reconciliation process.
Yeah, and you got to be disciplined about doing that, though. Just using it for what you want.
Correct. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about the cash flow planning. Are you using the same budget that you used to use, or is there something different?
Well, what it's the same one. Okay. And so it's that piece, that reconciliation piece. And so I'll just do a quick review. So
and maybe if you step back and tell people what you actually do with that budget, because
absolutely, that's a really good point. The whole purpose and really when I work with my clients, what I find is that many professionals, they are secretly overwhelmed and exhausted. They just don't know where their money is going. I mean, that's really the root. That's the key. And so then I coach them on a cash flow plan that makes them confident that their money is going to allow for them to relax and get back to living. Mm-hmm. When I work with my professionals, they make very good money. Though they're being dragged behind their jobs, they're being dragged behind their companies, they're being dragged behind their practices. And the purpose of this, to get to relaxing and to enjoying the lives that we're living, it's to get in front of it, to be proactive, because if we're not proactive, we're going to be reactive. So just the very first thing is to have a structure for that. I call it, that's the steering wheel we want to insert into that financial vehicle. The second thing is we want to be able to look ahead over the next 2 months, because today is going to be different than the upcoming 2 months. We want to be able to paycheck by paycheck, or if it's an entrepreneur, then we want to be able to artificially put them on a structure and have a structure for someone that doesn't have one. And so there's an entire strategy around that. So we want to be able to look ahead over the next 2 months to see, are there overages? Are there shortages? What are our goals? So we can, because I don't even need to create a cash flow plan for someone. I've done this had over 14,000 consultations. They're not going to be balanced. So we've got to see the overages and shortages in advance. How do we maximize those overages, minimize those shortages to then attain those goals? And then the last piece, and this was the piece I wasn't smart enough to figure out, is that review mirror piece. It's the reconciliation piece. It's going back to see, hey, where did my money go? And so how did that align with how we laid it out? And so that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. And that's the piece that I feel is the secret.
Okay. So how does debt fall into that, that budgeting plan? Because we have a lot of young physicians who are in a lot of debt. When I spoke to a group of residents a couple of weeks ago at Trinity Medical Center Trinity in Trinity, their biggest thing was that they're in debt, and that they're looking for jobs that can help them pay off their debt. Loan forgiveness programs, working in different areas. Some of the programs I didn't even know about. But I know that if you're focused on paying off the debt, you can, as a physician, pay off your debt within 3 years. So what are your thoughts on that? And how do you recommend physicians who have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt manage that debt?
Well, I think that typically the way that most people would approach that is kind of a rolling out of bed approach. There's not a strategy.
Rolling out of bed approach?
Yeah, there's no strategy. They're just rolling out of bed, doing the same thing one day after the next, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And this is where I see clients coming into retirement with student loan debt.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Right. It does
That's
happen.
Crazy.
It does happen. And so what we want to do, because to your point, because this is the thing, there's a bigger shovel with a physician. So it's really important to know what that cash flow plan is going to look like in order to move forward, though also artificially pretend like you don't have all that money. So you can spend that and allocate that towards the debt aggressively so you can just get your life back. I want like a rip the Band-Aid off approach. It's going to hurt. Some hair's going to go with it. Right. But my gosh, let's get you to the other side of that. Right. So because you're working for everyone that you owe money to.
Yeah. We
don't want that.
I had a farmer rep actually last week in my office come by, and he was getting married, 25-year-old, getting married. His fiance is pregnant, and he's working for a big company, big pharmaceutical company. And he was like, well, can you give me some advice? I said, you need to get out of debt. Because that's the first thing that came to mind. So, I tell everyone this.
Yes.
And he says, what do you mean? And why? I said, do you have a car payment? He said, yes. But I've been wondering why I need to keep this car, because my company pays for a car for me. I'm like, huh? So you have a car payment, paying $600, $700 a month for a car, and you don't use it? Yes. Said, and you have a Roth IRA that you're contributing to? Yes. So he had all this debt, and he was still contributing to a retirement account. Why do people do that?
I just think it's just what they're used to. They don't expect any more. So I say, let's just raise our expectations. Like, can we truly live a life that we don't owe everybody else money to? That would just be a beautiful world.
Yeah. I told him to get rid of the car tomorrow.
Yeah.
Turn it in.
Absolutely.
He goes, really? And then he said something I thought it was a little strange. He said, well, maybe I can talk to my dad about it and see. Like, what? You're 25 years old.
Yes.
So he had some issues there, but I think he's going to be fine.
Yes.
And he's going to do well. But I think sometimes it takes conversations like that, and it takes wise counsel to guide you. And obviously, you were that wise counsel for me in finances. So what do you say to a physician that says, "Well, I can make more money in the market. My interest rate is 6%. I can make 10% of the market. Why do I have to pay off my debt?"
Well, I'd ask, what interest rate are you currently paying right now? There's 100% gain by paying off that debt. No risk. And once you pay off that, then you get your monthly minimum payment that you're paying to that and whatever other debt. And then that's money that you get to spend and get to decide.
Why don't people know this? Why do you think that physicians, or even just general population, don't know it?
I just think people settle, to be honest with you. Yeah. And also, I think it's overwhelming to them. I think that when you do, let's even talk about the student loan debt as well. So for you, for a physician, what's an average amount of student loan debt that you see? Now,
I mean, I came out with 150, maybe almost 200,000. Now I'm hearing 300, 400,000.
Right. And can you imagine it's a physician that actually doesn't become a physician? I see that as well. Then they decide to become a school teacher. Right. So there isn't the bigger shovel. So it can be overwhelming. It just can be absolutely overwhelming, and it can compound. And there is an inherent safety mechanism with debt that you can borrow up to a certain point in time, though then that debt to income ratio is going to get way out of whack, and then no one's going to want to touch you with a 10-foot pole. And that's actually a healthy thing.
Yeah, because then you can't continue to get into debt. And I mean, it's just crazy to hear how much debt people are in, and that they're carrying this debt for 30, 40 years.
It's true. And what I find is that what I call it, you're pumping in artificial money.
Yeah.
Is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. It's filling the gap between. And so it really goes back down to having a cash flow plan that is laid out. What is your plan? And it depends, because someone could be in an income crisis, meaning there truly is not enough income to come in to aggressively move forward. So there's a different strategy for that. Let's just say it's someone that's on Social Security, for an example, right? Yeah. That's a different scenario. And the other is a money management crisis that we can fix all day long, because it's about you.
Yeah.
Right. It's about bringing that lifestyle down. And sometimes that's a difficult thing for people to do, is to bring that lifestyle down.
Yeah. So would you say that's one of the struggles?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and, I had another doctor that I was working with, and do you say, is it Porsche or Porsche? See, I don't even know.
Porsche.
Okay. All right.
Nice car.
Yeah. Nice car. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why don't we just buy it rather than lease it?
Oh, they were leasing it for Porsche. Did he own his business? Did he own the business?
No.
So he wasn't writing off the lease?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it was a fleece.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm like, and there was enough money to do it. And so, but it just wasn't even a thought to actually buy it. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it takes just that simple conversation.
Right.
That no one has, especially with a physician who knows everything, right?
And
we know everything.
I think that there's this concept of like, just, you're always going to have a car payment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I've heard that too.
Absolutely. And even the same thing with the mortgage. The answer is no.
No.
Not really. You don't have to.
No. I'm on I guess I can share that. I'm on a 15-year plan.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd be proud of me.
That's amazing.
15-year mortgage. And most 15-year mortgages are paid off in less than 12 years. So,
I believe it.
Because you then accelerate the payments.
Right. And when you look at that amortization schedule, I know we saved it's $135,000 of interest we did not pay to the mortgage company on our first home.
Yeah.
By paying it off early.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's one habit all physicians should do to succeed with money? What would you say that one habit is?
I think it's that we have to make it a habit, because they just don't. And I think it's so easy to think, okay, we're going to start on the first of whatever month. And then, and
make what the habit, the budgeting, or
just to make it a habit to, actually take a look at your money.
Take a look at the money. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that we feel, this is what I hear from my clients. They they just don't feel like they have time. They're busy. They're so busy. And what I tell my clients, I'm like, well, you're already worrying about your money. What about we just capture that, bring it back in, and we direct that? We just basically take that same time you're worrying about it and just do something about it. Like, how successful would that feel?
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So I have a couple of rapid fire questions I wanted to ask you.
okay, let's go, Jude.
And you haven't seen these.
No, I have not.
I'll start with the easy first, and then we'll go a little harder.
Okay, all right.
Let's have some fun.
All right.
Favorite movie?
Legend of Bagger Vance, hands down. I wish I would have seen that in the movie theater.
Legends of what?
You got to see it. Yes, golf. It's about golf.
Oh, golf?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even
Tiger
like
Woods
golf.
in it?
No, it's amazing.
I was just kidding. I think I've heard of it. I just never watched it, I don't think. Last book you read?
The Bible.
The Bible. Okay. What do you do when you wake up?
I take time to center into my heart.
Favorite vacation spot?
There's this place, it's in the mountains, it's called the Hike-In, and you have to hike up to it, and you get to stay there, and you can hike back out, but you can only get there by hiking up to it.
Where is this?
In Georgia.
The Hikings?
The Hike-In.
The
Yes.
Hike-In.
Yes.
And it's an INN.
INN, yes.
Okay,
yes.
the Hike-In. That's
Yep.
pretty neat. One thing that your children love about you?
Oh my goodness. I would say my entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay.
And trusting my heart. So I'll give you two.
Okay. Ever fired a client? And why?
Yes. And because as a part of my process, it is a 2-month process. And because I really want people to get results. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the 2 months, the purpose is for us to know, yes, are you really going to be engaged or not? And so I did have a client, and I just didn't feel like they were ready at that moment, mm-hmm. at that time to move forward. And I don't want to waste their time, their money, their energy. And so.
Just one.
Yeah, we parted ways. Yes.
Yeah. Did he ever come back?
Over 14,000 consultations. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Did you ever come back?
No.
If you had presidential powers.
Yes.
What's the first thing you'd do? You're president today.
As of today, oh my gosh, I would work on bringing back the value of the dollar.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
I just feel like it's eroding right now, and we have to work a lot harder to get the results that we're getting. And so that'd be really important to me.
Okay. Who's going to be the next president?
Oh, my goodness, Jude Pierre.
Well, I mean, I could be a write-in, I guess, and if enough people write me in.
No, I will. Well, who do I want to be the next president?
No. I said, who is going to be the
Who's
next
going
president?
to be? Oh, my goodness. That's hard because I know who I want it to be, right? And Okay. Gosh, Jude, come on.
I told you it was getting harder.
First.
No.
Oh, no. No.
I know who I think it's going to be, but.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm going to pass on that one.
You're going to pass on that?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. What's a spiritual habit that you practice?
Oh, meditating.
Meditating. And what would be your one superpower? This is something that Mindy Peltz does in her podcast. Some other people do it too. Your superpower.
I feel the pulse of money.
Feel the pulse of money.
Yes. I can feel the future pull of it. Once in the beginning, God used to, I would feel like a seatbelt would click me in, and I would just be clicked into that person's finances. I don't get that anymore because it's just there. And I can just feel that pulse, and I can see how the behavior, and I can see exactly how it's going to play out when they make different decisions, and they are in complete control of their decisions.
Huh. You surprised me with that one. You can feel the pulse of money So what would be the one thing that would aid you in feeling that pulse of money? Like, what do you do to get that pulse? So Is it a conversation? Is it something you see in writing?
It's just once I love to get my hands on someone's cash flow plan. Once I do that, it just all becomes clear. It's not even like work.
Wow. Well, this has been awesome. How does our audience find you? They want to hear more about you and maybe get you to get the pulse of their money.
Yes. My website probably would be the best. And also on the socials, right? Yeah. The Instagram, Facebook, things like that as well.
Yeah, we'll share all that in the show notes. I just wanted you to verbalize where you would like to be found. And, I'd love to get you back on and maybe we'll have an episode on just the pulse of money. That'd be fun. Intriguing. Maybe you can teach me how to have the pulse of money.
Yes.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for coming on the Independent Physicians Blueprint. And we're so happy to have you.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you.
So what you learned today was the practical definition of what a personal cash flow management system is, why tracking where your money goes is crucial to financial health, why using a debit card can help manage spending more effectively, and you learned about the superpower of having the pulse of money. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to hear more, subscribe, follow in your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode.